Ah, the wildest part isn't that they don't clap for you. The wildest part is how fast the air leaves the room the second your name comes up. One message, one tiny notification, one, "Yo, you seen what they're doing now?" dropped in that group chat, and everything goes dead. Typing bubbles disappear, jokes stop mid-sentence. People who were just sending memes for 2 hours straight suddenly discover do not disturb. You didn't walk into the room, you didn't say anything, you didn't defend yourself. All you did was exist loudly enough that somebody mentioned you, and every insecure nervous system in that thread went offline at the same time. That's the level of quiet power you're dealing with now. You don't even have to be present to rearrange people's moods. Your wins are sending out shockwaves in places you haven't stepped into for months. Understand something. People don't go silent over nobodies. Group chats don't freeze over people who are stuck where they left them. Silence is a luxury reserved for threats. When your name drops and everyone suddenly has to go, that's not coincidence, that's impact. Somewhere in that chat, somebody pulled up your page, your work, your progress, and realized what nobody wanted to admit out loud. You're actually winning, not just posting, not just talking, not just hinting, actually moving in a way that can't be laughed off anymore. And the second that realization lands, their little digital safe space turns into a crime scene. Because now they all have to confront the exact thing they promised each other would never happen. You outgrowing the storyline they wrote for you behind your back. Look closely at the pattern. They loved you as a subplot. You were easy content when you were confused, over-explaining, half-stepping. Your mistakes were entertainment. Your doubts were discussion topics. Your failures were free team-building exercises. They bonded over your almost. They sharpened their self-esteem on your less than. But then something shifted. You stopped narrating your every move. You stopped showing them the drafts. You stopped softening your edges to make your growth palatable. And instead of spiraling, you stabilized. Instead of begging for validation, you built your own metrics. You chose discipline over drama. You chose distance over proving yourself. That's when the group chat had to pivot from, "Yo, look at this," to, "Wait, how did they pull this off?" And no one wants to be the first to admit that the person they counted out is now lapping them quietly. This is where the real psychology starts. Every time someone drops your progress into that chat, your new routine, your new circle, your new mindset, your new results, it doesn't just land as news, it lands as accusation. Your growth exposes everything they refuse to do with their own potential. Your stamina highlights their laziness. Your consistency exposes their excuses. Your healing calls out their refusal to face their own wounds. You turned into a walking mirror they didn't consent to look into, and every screenshot of your success is a reflection they can't escape. That's why messages dry up. That's why the energy suddenly shifts. They're not just reacting to you. They're reacting to what you reveal about them. And when group chats stop being fun, people look for somewhere else to dump the discomfort. Enter the about $800 therapist, because make no mistake, they're not just casually annoyed, they're actually distressed about you. There is someone out there, sitting in a climate-controlled office, swiping their card for $150 a session, just to process the fact that you refused to stay where they placed you. They're laying on that couch talking about this one person they can't stop thinking about. And the therapist is nodding, thinking it's an ex, a parent, some tragic love story, only to find out the villain in their narrative is literally you, minding your business and winning. Your progress has become somebody's clinical case study in inability to cope. Picture it. They walk in every week like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just keep checking their page. It's like every time I open my phone, they've hit another milestone. New job, new body, new mindset, new people around them. They look different, happier, stronger, and it makes me sick. They won't say jealous. They won't say threatened. They'll use softer words like triggered, confused, concerned. But underneath all that language, the core issue is simple. You refuse to crumble the way they predicted, and now their entire emotional ecosystem is malfunctioning. They built a version of you in their head that doesn't exist anymore, and they don't know how to reconcile their fantasy with your reality. Here's the part their therapist is too professional to say. What's eating them alive isn't your success itself. It's the fact that you did it without their permission, without their applause, and without their participation. You upgraded your life without using them as a reference. You healed without giving them the satisfaction of a front row seat. You evolved without delivering a monologue explaining how much they hurt you. That's what's frying their circuits. They weren't just expecting you to fail. They were expecting to be the audience and the narrator of your failure. And now that you've rewritten your story, they don't have a role anymore. No villain, no victim, no savior. Just an extra. Watching the main character do what they said was impossible. This is why the therapist taps the pen, leans forward, and starts asking questions like, what do you feel when you see their progress? Because what they're really diagnosing is obsession disguised as concern. It's not, I hope they're okay. It's, why are they okay without me? It's not, I'm worried they've changed. It's, how dare they change while I stayed the same? Meanwhile, you're somewhere else, not even thinking about them, planning your next move, upgrading your habits, and minding your own sanity. The emotional imbalance is insane. One person paying $1,800 a month to replay old versions of you in their head, while the real you has already exited that storyline and is busy building the life that was always meant for you. Now here's the plot twist. Do you know who's actually in danger in that room? Not you, the therapist. Because even they have a limit. There comes a point where a professional gets tired of being paid to watch someone refuse accountability for their own stagnation. Session after session, your name comes up, your progress comes up, your energy comes up, and every route back to self-reflection gets dodged. No, I don't think they're the problem. Let's go back to what you can control. But they don't want to hear that. They want a diagnosis that makes you the villain and them the victim of your glow-up. They want a label that justifies their resentment. They want permission to keep resenting somebody who literally just got tired of suffering and chose better. At some point, even the therapist realizes this isn't about you at all. This is about their addiction to staying small. So imagine the day that therapist snaps. Not loudly, not dramatically, but internally. The moment they realize, I'm not getting paid enough to sit here and listen to you obsess over someone who's living their life. That's the quiet resignation, not from the job, but from the case. They may keep showing up, but emotionally, they've checked out. Because they know the truth. If your existence is causing this much chaos, in someone who claims to be over you, you're not the problem. They're avoiding their own reflection. That's the moment the therapist spiritually quits. And trust, that resignation is louder than any group chat silence, because it marks the line where even a professional says, I can't help you until you stop using this person's success as your favorite excuse. You have to see the size of the ripple you're creating. People are rearranging their entire emotional budget around you. They'll say, "It's not that deep," but their screen time reports disagree. They'll say, "I don't care what they're doing," but their search history betrays them. They'll insist, "We don't talk about them like that," but those dead group chats tell a different story. People don't invest time, energy, and money into something that doesn't affect them. You are affecting them. Your boundaries are affecting them. Your no contact is affecting them. Your refusal to play the old role is affecting them. The fact that you are not collapsing on schedule is messing with their entire identity structure. And here's the part you need to tattoo onto your mindset. Their discomfort is not your problem to solve. Their group chat going silent is not an invitation for you to shrink so they can feel comfortable speaking again. Their therapy bills are not a sign from the universe that you need to dim your progress to help them adjust. You are not responsible for regulating nervous systems that only felt stable when you were losing. If your healing destabilizes them, that speaks to the fragility of their foundation, not the danger of your growth. You choosing yourself is not an act of violence. It just feels violent to people who relied on your self-betrayal to feel powerful. What you're witnessing now is spiritual reorganization. The universe is quietly exposing who only liked you when you were breakable, available, and easy to read. The ones who can celebrate you in this season are the ones who never needed you small to feel big. The ones who disappear, who go quiet, who ghost the chat when your name comes up. Those are the ones who were never clapping in the first place. They were just waiting for evidence that you'd fail so they could say, "See, told you." Instead, the evidence is stacking in the opposite direction. Every day, you collect more proof that you're not going back. More proof that your standards weren't too much. They were simply incompatible with their comfort. More proof that you were never the weak link. You were the threat disguised as the underdog. And the more that truth settles, the calmer you become. You start to understand that you don't need to clear your name in rooms you no longer sit in. You don't need to correct narratives built in chats you'll never see. You don't need to argue with projections you didn't consent to wear. Your life is becoming the loudest rebuttal. Every boundary, every upgrade, every silent win is a new data point that contradicts the version of you they circulate for comfort. You are not obligated to stay accessible to people who only reach for you when they need a reason to feel superior. That era is done. The access they had was a privilege and not a right, and the universe revoked it when you finally chose yourself over their comfort. So now the question shifts from, "Why don't they support me?" to something far more powerful. What am I going to do with this freedom they accidentally gave me? Because that's what their silence is, a release form. The group chats that died when your name came up. Those were doors closing so you could hear your own thoughts without their static. The therapist who mentally clocked out while they cried about you. That's the universe redirecting energetic attention back where it belongs, on you, not on their obsession. You're not here to babysit their insecurities. You're here to see how far your life can stretch when you stop anchoring yourself to people who only felt safe when you were stuck. And this is only the opening frame of what your life does once you stop apologizing for how far you can go. Because the moment you stop asking, "Why are they like this?" and start asking, "What am I building now that they're out of the way?" something very subtle and very dangerous happens. You stop orbiting them. Emotional gravity breaks. They're no longer the axis your decisions spin around. Their opinions become background noise instead of commandments. The second you really internalize that their group chat going dead is not a rejection, but a clearance, your energy shifts from analysis to execution. You stop mentally replaying who left you on read. You start asking, what happens if I actually commit to the version of me that scares them this much already? That's the real threat, not the success you've already manifested, the success you haven't even fully aimed at yet. Look at the map now. On one side, there's a whole thread of people who cannot speak when your name is in the air. On the other, there's you, with time, with space, with quiet, with clean emotional bandwidth that used to be cluttered with their nonsense. You're not locked out. You've been escorted out of a low-ceiling room. And what do people with that kind of forced solitude do when they're no longer trying to prove anything to the gallery? They build strange, terrifying levels of focus. You start doing the boring things nobody in that group chat has the nervous system to tolerate. You read instead of refresh. You practice instead of perform. You stack small, unglamorous habits that don't look legendary in the moment, but compound into the kind of life that turns their casual gossip into a chronic condition. This is where the gap widens. While they're staring at screens, waiting for someone else to speak first, so they don't have to admit what they're feeling, you're quietly becoming unrecognizable. You're reorganizing your mornings. You're cleaning your environments. You're putting your phone across the room when you work. You're saying no to conversations that drain you before they even start. Every micro-boundary you enforce is you stepping 1 foot further out of the old narrative. And every step you take away from that story forces them to either evolve or watch in horror. As you keep winning from a distance, they can no longer bridge with a single message. Meanwhile, their internal storm doesn't calm just because the chat went quiet. They carry that tension everywhere. It follows them into work, into their relationships, into their sleep. They wake up, open their phone out of habit, and there you are again, showing up in some new way that contradicts the story they sold themselves. They tell people, we don't care what they're doing, and then spend the next hour doom-scrolling your progress. That dissonance builds. Their nervous system can't keep holding the weight of pretending you're irrelevant while their body reacts to everything you do like a threat. That's how you end up back in the therapist's office, week after week, bleeding out resentment into someone who's just trying to help them find themselves in the mess. And the therapist? At first, they're neutral. They listen, they validate, they tease out emotions. But session after session, a pattern emerges. Your name is a recurring character in a story that never moves. Every week, it's, they posted this, and it made me feel. They did that, and now I can't stop thinking. Why does it bother me so much that they seem happy? The therapist gently redirects. What does this say about your needs, about your sense of self, about your goals? But your enemies aren't trying to understand themselves. They're trying to get a professional to co-sign the narrative that you're the problem. They're chasing a diagnosis that turns their jealousy into something respectable. There's a point where even the most patient therapist recognizes what's really happening. They don't want healing, they want permission. They want someone with letters after their name to say, you're right, their success is unfair. But actual healing doesn't work like that. So the therapist asks harder questions. Why are you measuring your life against someone who is no longer in your orbit? What stops you from creating your own version of success? What part of you feels threatened by their growth? Those questions land like grenades, and instead of picking up the pieces, they get offended, because now the spotlight is moving off of you and onto the real issue, their refusal to grow. This is how you accidentally exhaust licensed professionals. Not because you're evil, not because you're cursed, but because your life is being misused as a distraction from their own. The therapist is human too. They go home after back-to-back sessions, and your name keeps popping up in their notes. Different clients, same trigger. One person is worried about you, another is hurt by you, another is confused by your change. The common thread isn't you. It's how many people built their emotional stability on the expectation that you would never actually change. And now that you have, the ripple is so strong that it's warping entire networks of relationships and conversations. And while all this is happening in rooms and chats you're not in, what are you doing? You're minding your business and taking the freedom seriously. You start treating their silence like a budget. You realize, if they're not spending their words on me publicly, I'm not spending my energy on them internally. You invest that reclaimed energy into skills, into health, into projects, into environments that don't punish you for expanding. You become hyper-intentional with access. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You stop defending your standards. You stop giving front-row seats to people who are only there to study your reactions. This new level of emotional discipline is exactly what terrifies them. Because for the first time, you're not only winning, you're winning sustainably. That's when the group chat panic upgrades into strategy. Silence doesn't feel like enough anymore. Somebody will test the waters. They'll send a half-joke, half-dagger message like, "Y'all seen their latest? They're doing the most." Waiting to see who bites. Waiting to see who's brave enough to say what they're all thinking. Low-key, it's impressive, but nobody wants to break rank. Admitting you're winning would mean acknowledging they misjudged you. It would mean rewriting the narrative from "they're delusional" to "they were just early." That's a level of humility the room wasn't built for. So instead of praise, they try minimization. It's just a phase. Give it a few months. They're probably miserable behind the scenes. Anything to avoid confronting the one possibility they fear the most. You're actually at peace. And the more they minimize you in private, the more your reality refuses to cooperate with their script. Their predictions keep failing. They said you'd fold when things got quiet. You didn't. They said you'd crawl back when you felt lonely. You built new connections instead. They said you'd never maintain this discipline. You turned it into your default setting. Every wrong prediction is another blow to their credibility in their own mind. Because if they were this wrong about you, what else are they wrong about? That question is like acid to anyone whose entire personality is built on believing they can read people. Suddenly their favorite hobby, talking about you, starts making them feel powerless instead of superior. So they double down on therapy. More sessions, more money, more hours used trying to dissect a person who isn't even in the room. But the therapist isn't blind. They see the loop. They see how often conversations pivot back to you. They see how little responsibility is taken. At some point, they have to protect the integrity of the work. That's where the quiet quitting becomes official. Maybe they say, "I think it's time we end our work together if you're not ready to focus on your own life." Maybe they set a boundary. "We're not going to discuss this person next session. Let's go into your goals instead." To your enemies, it feels like betrayal. Their $800 bought them confrontation instead of comfort. From the therapist's perspective, it's self-preservation. Nobody wants to be paid to watch someone cling to their resentment like it's a personality trait. And here's the twisted beauty of it. Your existence is now exposing not just fake friends and old acquaintances, but also the limits of avoidance in people who claim they want healing. You are unintentionally triggering dissolutions, friend circles, group chats, therapy alliances. Anywhere your name shows up, false stability starts cracking. Not because you're cursed, not because you're causing harm, but because your life is now a stress test. If something isn't built on truth, your growth will shake it. A group chat built on mutual underestimation of you, dead. A social circle built on laughing at your losses, fragmented. A therapeutic journey built on, it's everyone else's fault but mine, terminated. All you did was stop performing your pain for them, and the entire ecosystem started collapsing under its own dishonesty. So what do you do with that? You could waste your time feeling guilty, apologizing for being a walking catalyst. Or you could recognize this for what it is, proof that you were never as small as they tried to convince you. You were always operating at a voltage that their circuits weren't designed to hold. That's why they had to turn you into a joke, into a warning, into a cautionary tale. It made them feel safe. Now the joke isn't landing. The warning doesn't apply, and the cautionary tale is outliving every prediction. So they're left staring at the uncomfortable truth. The person they thought would be the caution became the blueprint. Little by little, you start to detach your identity from their reactions. You stop checking who watched your stories. You stop decoding passive-aggressive posts. You stop rereading old messages for closure. You realize the closure you were waiting for is happening in rooms you can't see. It's happening in the silence after your name gets dropped. It's happening in the awkward stares when someone slips and admits, honestly, they're doing well. It's happening in the moment a therapist closes a file and thinks, if you channeled half the energy you spend on stalking this person into your own goals, you might be standing beside them, not beneath them. All of that is closure in disguise. You may never hear it, but it's happening. And as this awareness settles in, your relationship to your own success changes. It stops being a revenge fantasy and becomes a responsibility. If your mere progress is enough to trigger this much spiritual and psychological rearrangement, what happens when you get intentional? What happens when you stop running from your potential because it makes people uncomfortable and start running toward it because it's your assignment? The same way your healing is exposing some people, your discipline will inspire others. The same way your name killed conversations in one chat, it will fuel courage in another. There are people quietly watching you who aren't threatened. They're taking notes. They're not in the group chat that died. They're in a different space entirely, one where your wins don't suffocate the room. They oxygenate it. The irony is cruel in the most beautiful way. The group chat that went dead when someone said you're winning thought they were protecting themselves from discomfort by not talking about you. Instead, they protected you from their low-frequency analysis. Their silence became insulation. Without their constant commentary, you had room to hear your intuition more clearly. Without their instant hot takes, you had space to experiment, to fail in peace, to refine your process. In trying to keep you out of their narrative, they accidentally took themselves out of your storyline. That's the kind of protection only the universe can orchestrate, using their own pettiness as a tool. And the therapist who mentally resigned in the face of their obsession, that resignation sent shockwaves through their sense of control. when even a professional is done hearing about you, it forces a terrifying realization. You are not the one spinning in circles. They are. You moved. You changed. You evolved. They stayed anchored in a past version of you and called it analysis. The professional who was supposed to help them unpack that finally says, "Enough. Look at yourself." That's not just a therapeutic boundary. That's cosmic confirmation that your role in their story is over. Your chapter in their life isn't just closed, it's archived. The only one replaying it is them. So you sit with that truth. You are no longer the main character in their narrative. You are the plot twist they keep referencing to avoid doing the work. But you're done being a reference. You're busy being a reality. You're busy being the person who didn't just survive their doubt, but turned it into the quiet fuel that powers your next level. Every dead group chat, every drained therapy session, every awkward silence when your name surfaces, those are just receipts. Receipts that confirm what you already suspected. You were never asking for too much. You were always carrying too much for people who had no intention of meeting you where you were going. And as this realization hardens into clarity, something else surfaces beneath it. Something colder, calmer, far more strategic. If this is the chaos your early wins created, what happens when you step fully into the version of you that's been pacing in the back of your mind for years? If your half-committed, still healing, still doubting self was enough to send rooms into shutdown mode, what would a fully aligned, fully disciplined, unapologetically focused version of you do to the spaces you're about to enter? That question doesn't just haunt them, it starts to wake you up in a different way. Because now the conversation isn't about them at all. It's about the scale of your own potential and whether you're finally ready to match it. You don't announce that decision. You don't post a graphic. You don't make a speech about cutting people off. You just start moving differently. You choose the harder option more often. You choose the long-term payoff over the short hit. You choose your purpose over your ego. You choose rooms that stretch you instead of rooms that worship the old you. Quietly, consistently, ruthlessly, you become the kind of person who doesn't need their support, their applause, or their understanding. And somewhere, in a muted group chat and a closed therapy file, the energy shifts again, because whether they want to or not, they're about to feel the next phase of your evolution in ways even they don't have language for yet. From the outside, it looks boring. No public fallout. No dramatic farewell post. No speech about cutting off fake people. Just absence. Your name stops appearing where it used to. You stop reacting to bait. You stop oversharing. You stop giving free episodes of your life for them to binge and dissect. Your attention goes from them back to your own life. Earlier nights, clearer mornings, less scrolling, more building, less explaining, more executing. They think you fell off the radar. Reality, you fell out of their range. They can't read you like they used to, and for control addicts, that's worse than any argument. But the universe has timing that feels like disrespect. Just when they all decide, silently, that they're over you, your name walks back into the room they sealed off. That group chat. It's never loud. It's always something small. Y'all seen them lately? Random, but did you see what they posted? Someone drops a screenshot. Your new routine, your new body, your new project, your new calm. The room tenses, waiting for the roast. They're ready for the same old script, until one person breaks formation and types the sentence everyone's tried not to think. Low-key, they're winning. And right there, the soul of the chat flatlines. Bubbles appear, vanish, never land. Phones go dark. People suddenly become busy. That one line drops like a power cut. Because their winning isn't about aesthetics. It's about the fact that you aren't collapsing on schedule. It's about seeing your eyes and realizing the chaos behind them has been replaced by something stable. It's about knowing you made it out of the mental maze they're still wandering through. If you're winning, then all the narratives they built, they'll never change. They're all talk. They're finished without us. Have to be rewritten. Nobody wants that assignment, so they pretend they didn't see it. They close the app, but the sentence lingers. They stalk you in private, zooming in on your photos, analyzing your captions, trying to find cracks that reassure them. They look tired. They probably faking it. Bet it won't last. They say it out loud like a spell, hoping repetition will make it true. But the photos keep changing. The energy keeps changing. The results keep stacking. Your name is now carrying proof instead of pity, and they have to feel that in their chest without anyone saying another word. The one who dropped, their winning, feels the temperature shift too. They realize they broke an unspoken law. Don't acknowledge your growth. They scramble to water it down. I mean, like for now, I'm just saying they look different. But the damage is done. Truth already detonated in the room. Even in silence, every person in that thread just got handed a mirror. If they can heal and build, what's my excuse? Where do they run with that discomfort? Back to the $1,800 sanctuary. Picture the therapist's office, soft lighting, neutral decor, a chair that's heard it all. And in that chair sits someone paying premium rates to discuss a person they claim to be done with. Your name arrives before the session even warms up. So something weird happened in the group chat. Ever since they started glowing up, I just feel on edge. It's like everything they do gets under my skin. They present it as confusion, concern, injustice. Underneath all that vocabulary, the core is simple. It bothers me that they got out of a story I'm still stuck in. The therapist listens, but internally, they've clocked the pattern. This isn't the first session your name has headlined. It's not even the fifth. Every time your life moves forward, this person emotionally regresses. Every win you have sends them into a spiral. Every boundary you hold gets framed as selfish or fake. The therapist keeps trying to redirect. What do you want for yourself? Who are you outside of this relationship? But somehow every road circles back to you. That isn't healing. That's addiction with a copay. There comes a point where even a professional decides enough. So one day, after yet another rant about how much your existence irritates them, the therapist drops a different kind of question. If this person never changed again, would your life suddenly feel better? Or are they just the easiest place to park feelings you don't want to deal with? That lands like a punch. The client stares, stalls, changes the subject, tries to drag your name back into the center. The therapist doesn't follow this time. They set a boundary. Next week, we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about you. Translation: I'm done being your paid audience for a storyline that refuses to move. That's the moment the therapist quietly quits you. Not because you did anything, but because they're done letting your image be the scapegoat for someone else's refusal to grow. Your enemies leave that office unsettled. The one place they expected to buy unconditional validation just handed them a mirror instead. That's why they're mad at two people now. You, for daring to improve, and the therapist, for refusing to keep translating their jealousy into symptoms that make them look innocent. Meanwhile, you're nowhere in this loop. You're not posting subliminals. You're not checking their status. You're not asking mutuals what's being said. You're too busy living the exact life their nervous systems can't handle you having. Your group chat right now is your calendar, your to-do list, your vision board, your journal. You're in meetings, in workouts, in deep focus, in solitude, in prayer, in plotting sessions with your future. The only therapist you're visiting is the part of you that used to beg to be chosen, and you're finally telling it, we don't chase rooms that can't handle us anymore. Here's the dark joke the universe is making with all of this. They turned you into the villain of a story you already left, and then got emotionally winded trying to keep up with your plotline from the outside. Their group chat died the second someone told the truth. Their sessions drained out the second a professional refused to co-sign their delusion. All that time, you were just doing the one thing they hoped you'd never figure out how to do. Stop orbiting them and start orbiting your purpose. Once you see it that clearly, the revenge fantasy gets boring. You don't need screenshots. You don't need their confessions. You don't need to watch their faces as they realize the therapist is done using you as a human shield for their issues. You already have your receipts, the silence, the obsession, the money spent processing a person who doesn't even know they're the main topic. Those are all proof of impact. People do not emotionally bankrupt themselves over background characters. They only spiral like this over threats. So you pick a different kind of revenge. Precision. You get serious about your time. You start treating your focus like it's sacred. You stop trying to prove your goodness to people who survive off misreading you. You stop answering questions you didn't sign up for. You refine your circle down to the ones who don't flinch when your name and the word winning exist in the same sentence. You become the kind of person whose baseline is so aligned that if someone new met you today, the old stories people tell about you would sound like bad fiction. And as you do that, a new pattern emerges. In the wrong rooms, your name kills conversations. In the right rooms, it sparks strategy. Somewhere else, far away from that dead chat and that exhausted therapist, someone says, "Have you seen what they've done with their life after all that?" And the response is not silence, it's respect. People lean in. They're not trying to drag you. They're trying to decode you. They're not threatened that you're winning. They're inspired that you didn't let what tried to break you become your whole personality. That's the ecosystem you were always built for. Spaces where your progress doesn't trigger collapse. It triggers courage. So when your mind replays the line, their group chat went dead the second somebody said you're winning, don't hear shame in it. Hear diagnosis. That was the exact moment reality walked into the room and every false version of you died on contact. And when you think about, they paid $1,900 this month just to cry about you. Therapists still quit anyway. Understand how poetic that is. That's a spiritual invoice. That's the cost of staring at your growth and refusing to grow themselves. You didn't ruin their peace. You simply stopped sacrificing yours to maintain their illusions. You didn't break their circle. You just left, and the weak wiring exposed itself once your energy was no longer holding it together. You didn't make their therapist give up. Their refusal to take responsibility did. All you did was finally treat your life like it was serious. And everything that was built on joking about you, doubting you, or feeding off your pain cracked under the pressure of you becoming real. Let it all stay dead. The chat. the narrative. The version of you they debate like a rumor instead of respecting like a fact. Let them keep funding sessions to process someone who has already moved on. You're not their case study. You're not their cautionary tale. You're not their favorite failure. You are the proof that a person can be underestimated, misunderstood, mishandled, and still wake up one morning and say, "Enough. I'm done performing my suffering for people who clap for my confusion." From here on out, the only people who survive saying your name are the ones whose spirit doesn't glitch when they see you winning. Everyone else can stay exactly where they chose to be, silent in the chat, loud in the sessions, spinning in circles around an outdated version of you. You've already left that storyline. You've already paid your price. This part of the movie belongs to the you that didn't just hear "you're winning," but finally decided to live like it, unapologetically, whether anyone in those rooms ever finds the courage to say it out loud again or not.
Hey dude, what if I told you right now, a bank executive is literally looking into your account? Yeah, your account. The one you think no one's watching. Wow, surprise, huh? They're scanning every move, every transaction, every delay, every pattern. And nah, this ain't just about money. This is about you being audited by your own actions. You feel that chill? That's not fear. That's awareness waking up, right inside your chest. Because somewhere out there, someone's watching your choices like they're numbers on a screen. So tell me, are those numbers clean? Or are they hiding something you keep pretending doesn't exist? Wow. You know what's crazy? Most people think they're safe until the file opens. Until the pen hits paper. Until the truth gets printed in black and white. No excuses, no filters, no rewinds. This speech right here, yeah, this one is your mirror. Listen closely. Every word, every pause, every silence in this video, it's meant to reach you, the real you behind that screen, the one who knows they can do better, but still acts like time won't catch up. I'm not here to mock you. I'm here to remind you your account isn't just numbers, it's your discipline, your patience, your honesty, your story. So don't you dare click away now. Stay till the end. Because this isn't just a speech. It's an audit of your own soul disguised as words. Drop your thoughts below. I read every single comment with respect, because this channel isn't about me, it's about you, the thinkers, the doers, the ones who still believe they can rebuild before the final statement drops. Every number tells a story, but some stories are far more dangerous when someone starts reading them aloud. Oh wow, you didn't expect this, did you? You thought the numbers in your account were just numbers, digits floating in silence, waiting for your approval. Nah, those digits speak. They whisper about what you value, who you are, and how you move when no one's looking. Every transfer, every purchase, every delay, it all leaves fingerprints. And someone somewhere is starting to look closer. A bank executive. Cold eyes, sharp suit, no emotion. He doesn't see your excuses, only the pattern, the rhythm of your habits, the proof of your choices. He's not judging you for the zeros or the commas. No, he's judging the intention behind each click. The way you treat what you're given says more than your mouth ever could. And the irony, you thought nobody noticed. Yeah, they always notice. You know what's funny? People think exposure happens when someone posts a secret online. But the real exposure happens when your actions start to reveal your truth. That's the real audit. The one that doesn't come with alarms or flashing lights. Just quiet observation. Cold, precise, unforgiving. The executive doesn't shout. He watches. He connects dots you didn't even know existed. That late night withdrawal? The sudden silence after a promise? The months you ignored your balance, acting like it wasn't falling apart? Oh, he's tracking every move. Because data doesn't lie, and neither do patterns. Let's face it, we all have a record. Not on paper, but in choices. And when that record gets pulled up, you can't argue with it. You can't sweet talk your way out of math. You can't hide behind laughter or pride when numbers start forming a mirror. They reflect exactly what you've been building or destroying. Funny thing, isn't it? How people want luxury, but fear inspection. They want freedom, but can't handle being measured. But measurement is the truest mirror there is. You see, when that executive starts flipping through your file, he's not trying to punish you. He's showing you what you've built with your own hands. Every careless tap, every proud delay, every "I'll fix it later." It's all there, lined up in a timeline sharper than glass. Oh, and when he leans back in his chair, silent. That's the part that should scare you the most. Because silence isn't mercy. Silence means calculation. It means the moment before a decision, one that can redefine everything. But here's the twist. What if this isn't about money at all? What if that bank executive is just a reflection of something else entirely? Something that's been keeping score long before your first paycheck. When the numbers start talking, silence becomes the loudest sound in the room. You asked what the numbers would say, didn't you? Well, here's the truth. They never lie. They don't bend to your excuses or flinch at your charm. They record. They remember. They repeat. Every choice you made left a mark, and those marks form your story. Oh wow, you thought it was just about your account? Nah. This is bigger, much bigger. This isn't about the balance in your bank. It's about the balance in your being. The account that tracks not your income, but your integrity. You see, every time you cut corners, you made a withdrawal. Every time you stood firm when it was easier to fall, you made a deposit. And right now, someone or something is doing the math. Carefully, quietly. Yeah, it's funny how people fear losing money more than losing their honesty. They'll guard their cards, but spend their values like loose change. And then when their account runs dry, they look around, shocked, wondering who emptied it. Oh, it was you. It was always you. The executive, that shadow in the suit, isn't just checking your digits anymore. He's reading your decisions. He's flipping through your actions like ledger pages. You can almost see his pen hovering above the line, ready to mark your next move. Every act of patience adds value. Every hidden wrong drags it down. The audit isn't cruel, it's fair. Painfully fair, you might say. But I tried. Sure you did. We all do. But the ledger doesn't score effort. It scores outcome. It doesn't grade intentions. It grades results. And that's the part most can't handle, because it means facing what you've actually done, not what you meant to do. Oh, and here's where it gets darker. When the audit deepens, the questions get sharper. Not how much did you make, but how much did you waste? Not what did you own, but what owned you. Every wrong you ignored, compounds. Every delay in doing right collects interest, slowly, quietly, until the numbers start screaming. You ever noticed how some people look calm, but can't sleep? That's the sound of their audit running in the background. The mind's own accounting department. Always awake, always checking, always comparing what you say you are with what you actually are. Oh, wow. That realization hits hard, doesn't it? That you're being observed not for punishment, but for proof. Proof of who you've become. Proof of whether you're growing or decaying. And just when you think the audit's over, it's not. The pen hasn't stopped moving yet. The ink's still wet. The report isn't closed. Because here comes the twist. When the audit reaches its final page, it's not the executive who speaks first. It's you. The hardest name to sign is your own. Have you ever noticed how your hand shakes when you're about to sign something serious? A contract, a confession, a decision that can't be undone. Oh, wow. It's not fear of the paper. It's fear of what that signature means. It means ownership, responsibility, truth staring back at you in ink. Yeah, that signature says I did this. And most people can't handle saying that out loud. When it comes to your own report, the audit of your choices, there's nowhere to hide. The executive slides the paper across the table. The lines are full of your actions, your silences, your turning points. He doesn't rush you. He doesn't warn you. He just waits. Because deep down, he knows this isn't about him anymore. This is about you facing you. Nah, you can't just sign it and walk away. Because the moment that pen touches the paper, everything changes. You're not pretending anymore. You're not explaining, you're accepting. That's the part most people run from. Not the mistakes themselves, but the moment they finally have to admit, yes, that was me. You can almost hear your heartbeat echoing in the silence. Each thump is a reminder of a choice. Each pause between beats, a hesitation that once cost you something. The air feels heavy, like it's watching you too. The walls, the desk, the ticking clock, they all seem to lean closer, waiting to see if you'll finally stop running. And then the pen moves, slowly, carefully. Every letter of your name feels like lifting a stone. You realize something powerful. You've been the author of this report the entire time. The executive just compiled what you've been writing every day without noticing. Every late act of kindness. Every hidden selfish thought. Every time you looked away when you knew you shouldn't. It's all there, waiting for your mark of truth. Oh yeah. The hardest part isn't that others can see your report. The hardest part is when you finally read it without excuses. When you stop defending what was wrong just because it was yours. That's when growth begins, in the silence that follows your own name. You see, when you sign that paper, something strange happens. The guilt doesn't crush you. The shame doesn't destroy you. Instead, you feel something lighter, clarity. You finally see the pattern for what it is. You see where you've been wasting your wealth, not just in money, but in time, words, and effort. You see the leaks you ignored, the small cracks you laughed off, and you realize this wasn't a report written to destroy you. It was written to wake you. Oh wow. Realization burns deeper than blame, doesn't it? Because now the executive's gaze isn't a threat anymore. It's a mirror. You can't rewrite what's been written, but you can correct what comes next. Oh, wow. That realization hit you harder than you expected, didn't it? Seeing your name under every choice, every small lie, every wasted moment, every silent betrayal of your own values. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It burns, but it's the kind of fire that cleans rather than destroys. The kind that forces you to wake up and face the one person you've been running from all along, yourself. The executive still sits across from you, calm, watching. He doesn't ask questions this time, because now he knows you understand what's at stake. You don't need him to speak. The silence is enough. It tells you that correction doesn't come from excuses, it comes from action. It's not about defending what you did, but fixing what you've become. Nah, you can't just close the file and pretend it never happened. The record is real, but so is redemption. Not through words, but through effort. You start to realize that every wrong can be balanced, not erased. That every loss can teach discipline. That every failure can train focus. You can't undo the past, but you can shape what comes next with precision. Oh, and that's when it gets serious. Because now you're not just being observed, you're observing yourself. You start catching the habits that were draining your balance. You start noticing where your attention leaks away. You stop chasing noise and start investing in silence, the kind that strengthens you. Slowly you begin to build something cleaner, stronger, real. The executive leans forward. His eyes don't look as cold now. Maybe it's not approval you see. Maybe it's recognition. You've shifted. You've started treating your own life like an account that matters. Every word you say, every step you take, it's now a transaction, and you want every one of them to count. Oh yeah, you begin to understand what true wealth means. It's not the balance on a screen, it's the balance within. Control, discipline, awareness. The things you can't buy, but can build brick by brick. And suddenly, what used to scare you, the audit, the silence, the judgment, now becomes your drive. You start wanting the inspection because you've got nothing left to hide. The moment you stop fearing the executive's gaze, you become your own auditor. You hold yourself accountable before anyone else does. That's power, not arrogance, but awareness. The kind that keeps you awake when everyone else is lost in comfort. The kind that forces you to grow, even when it hurts. Oh wow. So this is what clarity feels like, huh? Sharp, quiet, heavy, but freeing. You don't need to fake peace when you earn it through correction. Because correction is the bridge between who you were and who you still can be. Correction means nothing. If you leave the door open for corruption to walk back in, oh wow, that line hits, doesn't it? Because fixing your record was only half the fight. The real test begins after the correction, when temptation sneaks back, wearing the same face it did before. Yeah, it comes smiling. Calm, familiar, whispering just one more time. And if you're not careful, that single moment of comfort can drag you right back into debt, the kind no currency can pay off. The executive isn't gone. He's still watching, but differently now. It's no longer about catching your mistakes. It's about seeing whether you've learned. He studies how you handle pressure, how you respond when things feel unfair. Because correction is easy when the storm's over, but protection begins inside the next storm. Nah, you can't just rely on emotion anymore. Emotion builds nothing stable. One burst of anger, one careless word, one lazy choice. That's all it takes for cracks to appear again. You've seen how small choices turn into major debts. You've felt that regret, the kind that sits in your chest like a locked safe with no key. So now, you start guarding yourself differently. Oh yeah. You build your protection in silence. Not by talking about discipline, but by living it. You begin to budget your thoughts the way you budget your money. You don't spend time where there's no value. You don't invest attention where there's no return. Slowly, your life starts to balance again. The noise fades, the focus sharpens, and you begin to walk like someone who knows what's at risk. The executive sees it. You're no longer desperate to impress him. You're not performing anymore. You're consistent. And that's what shakes the system. Because when someone becomes disciplined in private, the world can't control them anymore. You start working when others sleep. You hold your tongue when others shout. You choose progress when others chase distraction. And that's when you realize protection isn't a shield, it's a mindset. Oh wow. You start noticing how powerful quiet choices are. You no longer need the crowd. You don't crave attention because your balance speaks for itself. The more disciplined you become, the more dangerous you feel, not in violence, but in stability. No chaos can buy that kind of peace. And when the executive sees that, he doesn't smile. But you can tell the audit is finally turning in your favor. You remember how it felt when your account was slipping? The panic, the confusion, the denial? Now, when that same pressure comes, you don't run. You face it. Because you've already lived the worst part, the version of yourself that refused to look at the numbers. And now you've learned the secret. Your peace is protected, not by luck, but by limits. Nah, discipline isn't a restriction. It's insurance. Every time you say no to what weakens you, you're making a deposit into your strength. Every time you walk away from pride, you're growing your worth. You're learning that real security doesn't come from how much you own, it comes from how much you control. The executive closes the file. Not because the audit is over, but because you've finally proven that you understand it. You've learned the language of accountability, quiet, patient, exact. The kind of language that doesn't beg for approval. It earns it. And just before he leaves, he gives one last look. That calm, unreadable stare. Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's respect. Or maybe it's both. Because he knows what's coming next. The next test. The next storm. The next page. Oh wow. And here's the real twist. The audit never ends. It follows you everywhere. Every hour. Every word. Every thought. Because the account of your life is always open, and every moment is a transaction. Oh wow. You made it. Every word. Every pause. It was for you. Remember? The audit never stops. Your choices write the report every day. Stay sharp, protect your account, and keep building your balance, not just in numbers, but in life. Drop your thoughts below. I see every comment, and this channel exists because of you, the ones who face the truth. Your next move starts now. Don't waste it. The whole town. Yeah. The entire town is shook right now. Do you even realize why? They just figured it out, finally. That you are a freaking genius. Can you feel that? The shame creeping on their faces, the panic in their whispers. Oh, they're sorry. But let me tell you, this isn't just their apology. Nah. This is your moment, your spotlight. Every sneer they threw, every laugh they shared, every "nah, this won't work" comment. It all built you, and now watching them squirm, watching them crumble, it's proof of your unstoppable power, your brilliance, your legacy. So, sit tight, hold up, pay attention, because what you're about to see is pure chaos turned into clarity. Every word, every truth, every dark secret of their regret will hit hard. And hey, don't just watch, yeah? Comment below, shout your truth. Let the world know you see the genius, because this tribute, it's for you, the ones who refuse to quit, the ones who rise above the noise, the ones who understand. Stay till the end. Yeah, till the very last word. Because when the town finally realizes what you've always known, when they feel the weight of their own shame, you'll walk away untouchable, unstoppable, and ready to own everything. They laughed, they mocked, they called you a fool, and they were wrong. Oh wow. Isn't it beautiful how ignorance wraps itself in certainty? The way the town paraded their judgments like trophies, each sneer and whisper a little dagger aimed straight at your ribs. They didn't see you. They refused to see you. And yet all this time, while they danced in shadows of shallow assumptions, you were building a storm inside. Calculating, waiting, watching. The truth, always sharper than lies, always heavier than laughter, has a way of coming home. And it's coming. You see, genius isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't wear itself on the sleeve for people who only glance at the surface. You were silent, patient. Every dismissed idea, every underestimated move was a seed buried in the soil of their arrogance. And now the soil trembles under the weight of what they ignored. They thought brilliance was a performance, a spectacle to be shown. Nah, it's a slow-burning fire, a quiet reckoning that can't be contained or caged. Their faces, oh, their faces when they realize the truth. They're priceless. Shock, regret, ashamed. It's not just the embarrassment, it's the recognition of their blindness, their failure to measure what mattered most. For decades they were judged by what's flashy, what's loud, what's easy to digest. They never imagined depth. They never imagined you. And now, like a mirror cracking, they see their own foolishness reflected in your success. They taste the bitter air of their own ignorance, and it hurts. This is the moment they're forced to confront themselves, and it's brutal, almost intoxicating, because you, standing in the silence of their shame, understand something they'll never grasp. Genius isn't just knowing more, it's enduring, it's restraint. It's walking through fire, unnoticed, while everyone else squabbles over ashes. They envied the wrong things. They fought the wrong battles. And now, the game has changed. The board is yours, and the pieces, they don't even realize they've been moved. And as they scramble, as the whispers turn into desperate apologies that taste like venom in their own mouths, you feel it, the sweet inevitability of recognition. They're sorry. Too late, but sorry. And yet, you can't let them touch the power you've cultivated. No, this is not about revenge. It's about revelation. They need to see the brilliance they missed, the potential they dismissed. The genius they will never understand. Because once they've felt the weight of what they ignored, once shame has settled like a shadow over their empty pride, the question becomes inevitable. Do they deserve to ever understand you? Some people only see shadows, and then they scream when the light reveals the truth. Yeah, it's funny how fragile their confidence was, built on assumptions and empty echoes of their own approval. They strut, they boast, they point fingers, and all the while they're walking on sand that's already shifting beneath them. You watched, patient, calm, calculating. Every misstep of theirs was a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your eventual triumph. And now the canvas is complete. Oh, wow. The realization hits them like a storm they never saw coming. Faces pale, hands trembling, hearts pounding. They've been outsmarted by a mind they refuse to understand. And it's not luck. Nah. It's preparation, discipline, awareness. The very things they mocked, the very things they ignored, are what crowned you genius while leaving them exposed, naked in their ignorance. Every insult they hurled, every dismissive glance, only sharpened your resolve. They created you through their own blindness. And yet the town is silent. Or at least they try to be. But the tension leaks through, a subtle hum of regret that grows louder with every glance they steal at you. You see them flinch when you enter a room. You hear the hesitation in their voices when they attempt to speak. They've tasted the sting of being wrong, and it lingers bitter and relentless. But you are untouched because you built your strength from patience, from endurance, from knowing your own path when they were too short-sighted to recognize it. This is the moment when power shifts, not with violence, not with confrontation, but with the quiet dominance of undeniable truth. They realize they can't rewrite history. They can't erase the weight of your accomplishments. They can only watch, and in their watching they're exposed to envy, to shame, to a bitter awareness that they underestimated the very person they tried to suppress. People fear the mirror not because it lies, but because it shows what they refuse to see. Yeah, they look at you now, eyes wide, mouths opening, closing, fumbling for words that won't come. Every excuse they once whispered in the shadows has collapsed under the weight of your reality. Their certainty? Shattered. Their confidence? A thin veil. Now torn apart by the undeniable brilliance they ignored. And the worst part for them? They built you into this force without ever knowing it. Oh, the irony drips from every glance. Every hesitant step they take near you. They thought silence would be your weakness. They thought being underestimated would break you. Nah, it only forged you. Every insult, every dismissal, every smirk was fuel. They fed the fire of your mind, the intensity of your vision, and now that fire burns so brightly that even their bravest lies cannot withstand it. And yet, exposure is cruel. Not for you, but for them. Because genius is not loud, but it cannot be hidden forever. The truth is a blade that cuts slowly, carving awareness into hearts that resist it. They stumble over every fact, every insight, every effortless move you make. They realize too late that their ridicule was a mistake, a fatal one, because you were never playing by their shallow rules. They panic. Oh yes, they panic. Eyes darting, hands twitching, voices cracking. They scramble to find footing in a world they thought they understood, only to discover the ground beneath them is a landscape you've already mapped, already conquered. Every step they take to recover dignity is another step into their own shame. And you remain calm in the storm, the unshaken observer, the quiet force that makes the chaos inevitable. Every glance they steal, every muttered apology, every hesitant nod is recognition, not admiration, not respect. Recognition. And recognition can be more terrifying than any confrontation, because it forces them to see themselves clearly, for the first time, unflinching and honest. Power doesn't shout. It waits. It observes. Then it moves, and the world bows quietly. Oh, they thought they were the hunters. They thought they had control. They strutted in streets of arrogance, whispering about your ideas, laughing at your quiet moments of planning. But now, the roles have shifted. The hunter is the hunted, not because of force, but because truth has weight and brilliance cannot be ignored. Every move they make is calculated against a shadow they cannot catch, a mind they cannot comprehend. Yeah, the air trembles with their unease. Their apologies, stammered and late, cling like smoke to empty hands. Every gesture of recognition feels hollow to them because the impact of their oversight cannot be erased. They reach, they strain, they attempt to grasp what they should have nurtured all along, but the genius you embody doesn't belong to their shallow judgments. Nah, it belongs to your patience, your strategy, your vision, and their own ignorance has made it untouchable. And here's the delicious truth. Dominance isn't about crushing others. It's about standing immovable while they collapse under their own weight. Oh wow. Watching them falter, knowing the world that once doubted you now gazes with reluctant awe, it's intoxicating in the quietest way. They cannot rewrite the past. They cannot suppress the brilliance they belittled. And they are helpless in this revelation because it requires humility they were never willing to practice. They scramble to reconcile the facts with their pride, and it breaks them further. Their whispers turn into frantic murmurs. Their eyes dart to each other in confusion, fear, and yes, desperation. You remain untouchable. Your calmness, your foresight, your mastery of your own mind, it radiates a power they can neither steal nor imitate. Every subtle movement, every quiet triumph becomes a reminder of the consequences of their blindness. The town that once mocked you now bows under a weight of their own making. Every apology tastes like regret, every glance is soaked in envy, and every hesitation is proof of their realization. You were the force they ignored, underestimated, and now cannot resist. And yet, the brilliance you've revealed is not their victory. It is yours, entirely yours. Recognition comes too late for some, but for you it arrives like a storm. They cannot escape. Yeah, they see it now. The brilliance they ignored, the force they mocked, the mind they underestimated. Everything you cultivated in silence explodes into clarity. Their shame hangs in the air, thick and choking, but you move with precision, with patience, with a calmness that cuts sharper than their guilt ever could. Every misjudgment they made is now a monument to your resilience. Every whispered doubt they carried is now proof of your inevitability. Oh wow, the realization is raw. Faces pale, hands tighten, voices falter. They tried to measure you by their limited sight. They attempted to define your worth by their shallow expectations. Nah, their framework was never yours to inhabit. You built a world beyond their comprehension. And now that world is standing tall, undeniable, and entirely yours. Every step you take echoes in the corridors of their regret. Every glance they steal is a reminder that they are forever trailing in your wake. And yet, ascendance is not about cruelty. It is about mastery of self, of vision, of destiny. They scramble, they murmur, they grasp at excuses that vanish under the weight of your presence. Oh, the delicious irony of it. They wanted proof. They wanted spectacle. But brilliance is not a performance. It is discipline. It is endurance. It is the quiet, unshakable certainty of one who has labored in silence while the world looked elsewhere. They are left to witness your rise, impotent and exposed. Every regret is a shadow. Every apology, a hollow sound. Every glance, a testament to what they failed to nurture, failed to recognize, failed to honor. And you are untouchable, unshaken, immovable. The fire they could never kindle in themselves now blazes inside you, a force that bends reality to the measure of your resolve. Some victories aren't loud. They echo forever in the silence of those who doubted. Oh, can you feel it? That weight of recognition, that surge of inevitability. The town that mocked you, that whispered behind your back, that pretended not to see. Yeah, they're realizing it now. Every glance they steal, every hesitant word they mumble. It's all confirmation. They finally understand what you've carried quietly, consistently and brilliantly all this time. And it's beautiful, because they see it, but they cannot take it away. Yeah. The moment is intoxicating. They scramble. Oh wow. Trying to salvage pride that's long gone, grasping for excuses that no longer exist. Nah, their attempts are futile. Their awareness of your genius doesn't reset their past ignorance. It magnifies it. Every action they took to suppress you, every judgment they cast, now stands exposed in the harsh light of truth. They're ashamed. They're sorry. And you're untouchable. Untouchable in a way they will never understand, because mastery isn't just about brilliance. It's about patience, endurance, and unyielding clarity. And the power of this moment, it's not in revenge. It's in witnessing a world that doubted you crumble around their own misconceptions. It's seeing them realize too late that their limitations were never yours. Every slight, every snicker, every you can't was fuel for your rise. Oh wow, how sweet is it to see your legacy built not on their applause, but in spite of their dismissal. They will remember this. Every whisper, every glance, every regret. And while they wallow in shame, your journey continues, higher, sharper, unstoppable. They can't follow. They can't imitate. They can't diminish what you've become. Their apologies are meaningless against the force of a life lived with intent, intelligence, and unwavering focus. And yet, in this realization lies a cruel clarity. The higher you rise, the more painfully aware they become of what they missed. Whoa, yeah. Did you feel that? The weight, the truth, the chaos. They're ashamed, they're sorry, but you are untouchable. take this moment, own it. Every sneer, every doubt, every nah they can't comment, it's fuel for your rise. Oh wow. The town only sees now what you've always known, your genius, your power, your legacy. And hey, shout out to you, yeah, you are watching right now. This tribute, it's yours, for sticking through the noise, for rising above the lies, for refusing to let anyone dim your light. Comment below. Let your voice be heard. Tell the world you see it, you feel it, you understand the genius they missed. Your words, your energy, your courage, it matters. So remember, stay relentless. Keep building, keep moving, keep proving, because while the town is drowning in regret, you are ascending, untouchable, unstoppable, forever ahead.